Hello all. It's been a while. Sorry for that. But today we'll be talking about a feature in Business Central called data retention policies. Now all our systems, Business Central systems generate a lot of data and that data is stored into the database. But not all the data that is stored in different tables is relevant to the business, like log data, change log entries, old archive documents. And if you are on Business Central SaaS, and I would even argue, even if you are on just on Business Central, you should eliminate the data that is legacy and that is not operational, which is like change logs and activity logs and other things. Now, with release of Business Central, Microsoft thought about it and baked in a feature which is called as data retention policies. So in this particular video, we'll see what is that, how you can set it up, and then if you are interested, maybe in the next part of this video we'll talk about it as in how you can implement it on your extensions. So as we do every time, I'll make a humble request that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps us to understand how we're doing, do we need to change something and things like that. And let's get into it. So just for the demo purposes, I'm using Business Central Online or Business Central SaaS. You can perform the same steps on Business Central on-prem, because when we think about the data, it's not about just the database size. If you look very closely, this is tagged under performance as unused data, which is not needed by the business, is stored in your database. It surely will also impact the performance of your system. So don't just do it for the sake of saving the database space because you are on Business Central Cloud. Do it even on Business Central on-prem, because it indirectly affects the performance of your system. So as the name suggests, it's data retention. So let's just go into your Business Central environment, on-prem or SaaS, and search for data retention. Okay. Or retention policies. Okay, here it is, retention policies. Now in the retention policies, in this environment which I have, there are some tables already pre-set up. But let's take an example of job queue log entries, let's say. So now job queues entries are created and they execute. And if you have a lot of job queue processes that are running, based on their execution, it generates a log entry for it. And I manually would not like to work and delete those entries with the help of my partner by doing some customizations and all. So you can use the retention policies. Just open the new card as I did, choose the table from the table ID list. The first table that you see is job queue log entries. There are some tables, we'll talk about it, what these are and all. You choose the table and then you see that there is a retention policy that says how long you would like to retain data into this table. So you can define some pre-built retention durations are provided, like 1 month, 1 week, 1 year, 28 days, 6 months. You can surely add new if needed, but let's say I just say 1 month. What will happen with this, anytime a age of a record is goes beyond 1 month, that particular record will automatically be deleted from the system. Now how system calculates the age of a record is defined by this field called date field number. So you can set up which field will be used to calculate the age of the records. So here you will see all the date and date time fields which are there. I think it's date time. Okay, so this field will help you to you will define this field to understand that based on this I would like to calculate the age of that record. Now the best field, as from my understanding, is system created at, which means when this record was initially created. It's the system field gets populated every time automatically, so I'll choose created at. Now based on this field, it'll calculate how many records have passed that retention policy and retention period, and then will automatically delete those records. Just that. Let's see what else is here. So we have seen the journal tab, we have seen the retention policy. But there might be scenarios that you don't want to delete all the records from this table straightforward for 1 month. Let's say you would like to delete based on a field value. In that case, you don't apply to all records. What you do, you just disable this, which opens up a new tab called record retention policies. Now here you can define your filters of how you would like to delete the data. Here I can say that on the job queue entry table, if the, let's say, status is error, I would like to give some time for those records to be deleted. So I say let's delete it and let's create new if you need. So let's go into the field list, let's create a new one, and let's say 10 days, because I would like someone to review before I start deleting those records. So I'm thinking 10 days would be more sufficient, more than enough. So I can do a custom and then here do a date formula for 10D, and then based on this it'll automatically understand when the records will be deleted. So based on this, it says any record which is created after 6/14, which is 10 days past from now, will automatically be deleted. Now, but in case of success, if the entry has been succeeded, I can also do a filter here and say if the record has been succeeded, then I don't want to keep it for more than 2 days. Okay, so I'll just do a new, and this time I'll do 2 days. Okay, and don't, if you think that you understood everything, I'll say wait, we'll see other things which we haven't talked about yet on this. Okay, so 2 days. So anytime a record passes 2 days length, it'll be automatically deleted. Now once you have set up the way you want to filter records, the table, the field based on which the age is calculated, you just need to enable it, and system by default behind the scene will automatically calculate the record and delete them as they go past that retention period. The retention period can be based on a field or can be just based on the table itself as flat. But let's look at a little bit complex retention policy scenario. Okay, let's do a new, and here let's say this time let's try to choose a different table. Let's say sales header archive. I choose sales header archive. We all know what this table stores. If you enable archiving, auto archiving, or if you manually archive your documents, sales document, they get stored into this table called sales header archive and line archive. Now this table holds those records even if the original document has been deleted. So it's a good candidate for the table to be part of the retention policy. Now here, if you notice, and it is in edit mode, as you can see, there are so many fields which are disabled. You cannot choose the date field number because this is predefined in the code, so you will not be able to change it. If I try to apply this to all record, I'll get an error message that you cannot toggle apply to all records. And let's see this, because the retention policy for table sales and archive contains some mandatory filters. Okay, so let's see what those are. So if you enable this last tab, you will see that there are some predefined filters which are already defined. Like in the case of job queue log entries, we were defining these, but in this there are two predefined filters. One says source document exists, yes. Now source document exists is a field, it's a flow field, if I'm not wrong, into that table sales header archive, and this just means that the actual document exists. So what Microsoft is saying, that if the source document exists, then don't delete it. And the beauty is that you cannot disable it. It's a rule which will be there because it's part of the code. But here, where there is a field called interaction exists, yes, you have complete flexibility to either disable this or enable it. And additionally, you can apply more filters if you need. Okay, so like I can say document type. Okay, document type, and I can filter it, let's say, for quotes and create memos. So I just would like to delete archive sales quotes and sales credit memo. I just say okay, and then I can define when it need to be deleted. Let's say 20 days after the age is received, and then I have disabled this. So in this particular type of scenarios, there are some predefined filters which you cannot override, and we'll come to this why they are there and all. And then once you have done this, you can then just enable this. Once it is enabled, it'll do the same thing. It'll start looking for the record, but this time it'll look for the field called last archive date. You can't change the field in this scenario. Now let's come down and understand the tables. So let's look at these. These are tables which are not part of my setup, or maybe let me empty or delete all these. Okay, so we can see a whole list of it. Okay, let me I can't delete it in bulk, that's bad. Okay, it should be no, it doesn't. Okay, so we'll see a full list by just deleting all these entries which we have. Okay, so it's just a setup for you. You don't have to kind of need assistance from a developer from this perspective, or from an ISV partner. You can just come here and define that setup for the tables, which you can see on the table ID, and we'll kind of talk about it in a while. All right, so I've deleted all. Let's go ahead and click new. So these are the list of the table which are available for retention policies from base app and other apps from Microsoft. For sure, these two are coming from the Shopify app. This is coming from the email app, and then this all these are coming from base app. Then this is surely a separate app and all. But if you pay a very common pattern here, all these are either the log entries or the archive entries, where data is surely grows with time, but this is not the business critical data. You cannot, let's say, if you're trying to start using it for any table, you cannot use it because this is not into the allowed list. So you can't just add any table. You'll have to choose the table from this particular list. Now, how does this happen and how does these table pop up into this is defined by the partner who builds the extension, because they are at the better judgment of which table in their solution is an archive table or is a log table, and will be able to provide you those tables into this area, saying, okay, I know that this is a log table and I'm allowing this table to be part of the retention policy so that you can then set it up for your tables. So if you have a partner who is working on a solution for you, and they, as a part of the solution that you are requesting them, there will be some log entries or log tables which will store the data into the system just for kind of validation purposes, or for the time being. You should request them to add that table into the retention policies. You cannot use any table which is not defined by the extension partner into the retention policies. So if you know that you're going to build a solution where there is a log table, whenever there's an interaction happen, it kind of creates a log of that entry of that transaction into the system, and you know that this data will not be needed after 6 months down the line and 8 months down the line, then you can just ask your partner to add that table into the retention policies. And again, as we saw here, you can also kind of request them what kind of mandatory filters you want, so that even any user who is using the system and have possibilities, which is super permission. While he or she is setting up the system, they cannot just delete blindly. They can have some mandatory filter like this. So your partner will be able to define those mandatory filters so that you just not blindly allow your users to delete the data from the tables that are archive or log tables, but you can limit by talking to your partner and bringing those tables into the system. Now you might be thinking why we are talking about it. Yes, for SaaS, the database space is a factor which impacts your database size, and that's where removing unused data, which is not needed, becomes important. But at the same time, it also impacts your performance. So keeping your database clean as much as you can is important, and Microsoft is doing their bit by adding that feature into Business Central and also extending that pattern to your partner ecosystem so that they can utilize the same feature in the solutions that they are building for you. So do you know an app which should be using data retention policy? Put it into the comment section. We might, you know, we might start talking about it. Reach out to your ISV solutions partner or your partners, whosoever is owning the app, where you know that this is a just a log data and it's impacting my database size or it's impacting my performance. Why not add that into the retention policies, and then you as super user or administrator in your system can set it up with just this feature. Now the next part will be based on the request if you guys need it. In the next part, we'll understand as a developer or as an extension partner who is building that app, how you can add those tables, which are log and things, into your retention policies, and how you kind of make those filters as mandatory or make those filters as optional for your data retention policies. You know the drill. If you learn something new today, share it. Let the message pass to be more and more people so that people start utilizing features which are available in the Microsoft based app. And if you are a developer who is interested that yes, this makes sense, I should be utilizing the feature into my app, put it into the comments. I'll make sure that we record a video about it. If you learn something new, share it with your colleagues. If you think this was useful, hit the like button. And if you haven't, then please do subscribe to the channel. I'll see you sooner than later on the next video. Hopefully the part 2 of this video, if you guys want, where we'll understand how you kind of enable retention policies on your extension. Till then, have a great day. Keep learning and keep sharing. Thank you. Good day.